Hey, friends, back with another Zoom interview. I'm always excited to do these things, but this one I'm really excited because Ray Zawada and I have so much in common. We're both good looking guys, as you can tell. We are both half Japanese. We both live in Richmond. And the connection here is my wife, Gail, taught for many years with Ray's mother, Regina. So I think I covered all the similarities. And I'm excited too because I've interviewed like a couple ex-players, my cousin Dusty, who's a goalie, Corey Hirsch, who's a goalie, but now I get to talk to a real player, a skater, a forward. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Ray, thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks a lot for having me. It's funny that you call me like a real player and those goalies, they don't really count, right?
No, they don't count. And I always tell the story how Dusty would take his frustrations off on me, I guess, all the shooters, and he would line up 8 feet away from me and just take slap shots at my gnachas as hard as he could. It was ridiculous.
Sounds like a good guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. So really thanks for doing this, truly, and I'm thrilled to bring your story and kind of your personality to my subscribers on my channel. Tell us a bit about what you're doing now. We'll get into hockey in a second, but where are you living? Tell me about your family and tell me what you're doing professionally now.
Yeah, so after retirement, moved back to Richmond. We were actually playing in Japan my last year.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. But I became a firefighter in Burnaby, which is great. I mean, that career, it's basically you're going from the dressing room and the hockey rink basically to the dressing room at the fire hall, right? And it's a great environment. I mean, when the bell goes, it's like game time, right? And you head to the truck, you got to do your job, be a professional, and get to work with great people. So it's been very enjoyable from that standpoint, having that career.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, many years ago, me and my wife, Nicole, we just celebrated our 10th wedding anniversary.
Awesome.
And we actually sang our wedding song. She wasn't able to be there. She was doing a gig, I think, somewhere else. But yeah, celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary. And we have 2 kids, Victoria and Charlotte, who are 7 and 4, turning 5 in a few days. So
awesome.
Time's just been moving along, but yeah, very happy. I'm a firefighter. My wife is a nurse at Children's Hospital, so very proud of what she does as well. And
2 amazing professions, and it goes without saying, thank you for not just the past year and a half, but especially in the past year and a half for all you guys do. That's amazing, man. That's really, really good.
Yeah, well, I feel like we're just doing our job. Yeah, that's why we're doing our job, and it just happens that it's our profession that we need to be out there no matter what. So
your kids are 7 and 5. So my kids are 20, 18 and 14. So I at least have 10. How old are you? I must have at least 10 years on you then.
I'm 36.
Yeah, and I'm 47. So there's the 11 years there. Okay. Yeah. But I'm sure people couldn't tell the difference. Maybe
no, honestly, I look at you. I would say you're my age. I don't know what's wrong with me. I look old. You're like, oh, you're 40.
Well, you've been fighting against hockey players for 20 years, so I think there's a difference there. So, that's awesome, and I'm glad you mentioned Marie. So that's one of our good mutual friends is of course Marie Huey, and of course her husband Chris is also a firefighter like you are. So a lot of similarities there as well. No, that's awesome, Ray. So let's get into your hockey career because we'll kind of let's talk about pre-draft and then post-draft. So we know, I looked up that you were drafted in the 2nd round overall in 2004 by the Dallas Stars, 52nd overall. So that's awesome. That's near the end of the 2nd round. And but up to that, you had a few stops. Is that fair to say, starting in Richmond?
Yeah, you know what? Like growing up, you go see the Richmond Sockeyes playing. You're like, oh wow! You see them playing with their visors, or like junior hockey. It's rough. There's fights. You're like, oh, I want to be there, right? And you eventually make it. So I'm 17 and I make it. I remember going to high school and being like, hey, you know what? My goal would be NCAA scholarship. That's like my goal at that point in time, right? But how do you get there? You got to get it to junior A, right? Lucky enough that was playing well, but also played on a great team with a bunch of great guys, like even Jason Garrison. We both started there together. But I got to play with my brother, and it was just great. We had a great team. We won the league. We went to the Westerns. I think we came 3rd there. And then everything just started gaining momentum. Ended up getting scouted by a few junior A teams, but I can have my buddy Jason Garrison to thank. He was going to Nanaimo. He said, well, have you talked to these guys? I just never considered going over there. And then, yeah, I went over there with my family and got to meet like my future billet family, the arena, the coach, Bill Bestwick. And it was such a great fit. And soon after that, I mean, playing well, but on a great team, some great teammates. A lot of guys went on to play college hockey and pro after that. So yeah, it was just a great situation. And all of a sudden you hear that you're on like NHL, like central scouting list, right? You're like, no way. Right. And it's pretty exciting. And yeah. And yeah, things kept on just, I would say, snowballing in like a good way, gaining momentum. And our team, we won the BCHL, and then we won the Pacific, then we went to nationals. Didn't necessarily play my best at the nationals or anything like that, but played well enough that when the NHL draft came, and I pretty much knew that I wasn't going to be going in the first round. Talking to my agent and family advisor.
Yeah.
But we still went out to Raleigh, North Carolina, me and my parents, and got to sit there in the draft. And, you know, the first round's going by, you see like Ovechkin and those types of players going, you're like, oh, wow, like this is cool, right? But you could kind of be relaxed, but then boom, as soon as like the second round came around, obviously the family advisor was telling you, okay, it could be anywhere from like second, third, or maybe fourth or fifth, right? But
sure.
The first three rounds in that time in 2004 were on the first day.
Oh,
so
on
like
the same.
You go there, and if you're there, you probably think you're going to go on the first day, right?
Right.
You try not to put too much pressure on yourself. And anyway, but as soon as that second round came around, I'm like, man, I was so nervous. Every time they called the name, just my heart is beating like a million miles an hour. What's crazy though is directly below us. I mean, I don't know if they're right there or if they're another table in, but I remember looking down and like Guy Carbonneau was sitting at the table, and he was with the Dallas Stars. And I remember like I don't know if he knew who I was, or this is just happened to be like he gave me like one of these, or like a smile. And I turned to my mom and I'm like, Mom, I think Dallas is going to take me. And she's like, oh, okay. She's probably more nervous than I am. She's like, okay. Right. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, you know, just like nervous, like we all three of us were. And then sure enough, they call my name, and I mean, it went like, you're just ecstatic, right? You're like super happy. It's not on TV, but you go down there, you get the jersey.
Yeah.
Shake everybody's hand, right? Go around the table. It was awesome. I mean, I got to say hello to Wayne Gretzky, like in the down below in the hallways before we were taking pictures. So, I mean, it was such a cool experience, right? You're just like, oh, this is a dream come true.
That is a great story, Ray. And did you have an inkling that Dallas was one of the teams interested in you?
Well, I did an interview with them at the NHL Combine. So there was them, I think in Nashville, I think in Vancouver. If I had gone like later in the draft, like might have taken me. But yeah, it's just weird. Like, I say, oh, hey, I think they're going to take me. But then if they didn't, I probably would completely forget. When it comes later that night, I'm like, Mom, like I told you, right? She's like, yeah, you did. I was like, that's crazy. But yeah, it was a great experience. I'm really glad I got to go there and experience that, especially being part of the draft. And, you know, I'm very lucky to be drafted there, because I know there's some people who went to the draft and didn't get drafted that first day. Yeah. It happened to get drafted later, but I mean, yeah, just sitting from that 31st pick to the 52nd pick. I mean, how nervous I was. So yeah, it was a great overall experience. Really happy that I was able to be there.
That is a great story. And that's, you can say that you're basically 51 picks after Alex Ovechkin. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. 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 You know, it's, well, I have another story actually. So
yeah, go for it.
NHL Combine. And so I happened to be behind Ovechkin when we're doing all the fitness testing. Right. And this guy obviously carries, he commands like people, right? And so I remember I got off like the Wingate. So they drop like this weight, and then you have to pedal like mad, and they'll see like what your power goes to and then how it tails off. Anyway, it's only like 30 seconds, but you're completely gassed. You just get off and you're all like wobbly legged, and they'll give you some time to relax before you move on to the VO2 max. And I remember like I go sit down and like I think I knew it was Ovechkin for sure. Pretty sure it was like Malkin. I believe Malkin was in our draft too. I think they're sitting side by side. And so one of the people was like, all right, whatever number he was, right? Because he got given numbers as designations, and they're just like, oh, number whatever, yeah, you're up. And he's like, nah, no. And I think it was Malcolm's time. He's like, yeah, no. And they're like, okay. And I was number 50. I just happened to be number 52. Now they're like, oh, 52, you're up. I was like, are you serious? But I'm like, okay, just go do it. But
wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so Malkin refused to do the exercise, or what was he doing?
No, I think they just wanted a little bit more rest.
Okay. Well, I guess he knew he was going pretty high. I'm sure it wasn't, too. Oh, that's pretty cool. So then you get drafted by Dallas, and then had you already committed to Cornell at that point? I guess you had already.
You know what? I committed to Cornell very early. Nanaimo was basically like a feeder system. I'm not sure if you're able to look at how many people, but like Ryan O'Byrne, Byron Bitts, myself, even before that, David Lenevue, like Phoenix guys, all these guys were going to Cornell, and even afterwards, like Colin Greening. So basically, it was just I think there was a lot of trust in the coach, Bill Besser, that was there, and also they knew exactly what like Cornell hockey was about, right?
Right.
So for me, being that like two-way, hard checking forward, they're like, oh yeah, you're going to be a perfect fit.
Awesome. And Cornell's back east, right?
Sorry?
Cornell's back east.
Yeah, it's in Ithaca, so upstate New York.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow, two-way forward. That's pretty cool. What position did you play exactly?
I was right wing.
You're a right winger. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then you have actually, this is a really good question. I was going to ask it later, but I'll just ask it now because I find it really fascinating. And again, this is based on a lot of discussion with my cousin Dusty back in the time, because Dusty went to, he played Major Junior. He went to New West Bruins, actually, then Lethbridge. And then as opposed to going to college or university. I don't know about, maybe it's just me, Ray, but or maybe it's just because I follow the Canucks and I see the Bessers and the Demkos of the Hughes of the world. It seems, and the U.S. development program, of course, it seems like now there's more emphasis on college and university hockey, or at least it's considered okay, or at least more acceptable than Major Junior. Maybe that was my own bias. I don't know. Back in the day, was it a hard decision for you, or was there a big decision between Major Junior and college and university hockey? And has it changed at all, do you think, in at 2021 now?
Well, I think for me back in the day, like I see the guys that I'm playing with and against like my whole life. So you see Seabrook, you see Brower, like you see all these guys going to like Major Junior, like, oh, I gotta go. Yeah. And that was the heavy push from a lot of people. But I want to say I'm lucky that I had parents that, like I wasn't as good as those guys at all, right? Yeah. They're like, Ray, take care of your education. So education was always like a big thing in our house. So I think for me, it was like an easy decision because it was partially made for me. Yeah. That, hey, you're gonna go the academic route, right? Right. I think as time goes on, I think more and more college players are coming into the NHL, like the Hughes and players like that. I think hockey in general is getting a lot better, but I think college hockey for sure is being more highly regarded. And I think that shows from the talented players that come out of there on whatever team there is in the NHL. There's always a few really good college players. Yeah, and I think like not half the top 10, but 3 of the top 10 this year were from Michigan. So yes, that's kind of interesting, that whole college university, because I guess back in the day I was just more versed to seeing Major Junior players come out as opposed to say college players. But now it's you see it a lot more for sure. Yeah, well, I think you're 100% accurate. I think still probably Major Junior, like in Canada across the board, there probably is more players making it to the NHL. Yeah. This is just my opinion. I think just college, like Major Junior, you need to be ready to be a pro by like 21, right? You better be ready to go. Or else you could be stuck in some of the lower leagues. And hey, like, you know what? Like there's guys who make it out of there and then end up developing and making the NHL, right? But for me, and maybe some people who maybe aren't necessarily ready when you're that young, I think college is a great route because you get 4 years, right? You go there. I was 19. I graduated when I was 22, 23. So you got a few extra years to develop, and you're not necessarily thrown in and spat out right away. So I think for people that you know, you're good, but you're not like the Austin Matthews type good.
Right.
I think the college route is really good for not only the hockey now, because I think, well, it was good back then, but I mean, it's probably better now, but also that college experience. I mean, especially in the States, like, you watched some of those movies, like, well, National Lampoons, those types of college films. And I remember going down there on my fly down, and the coach is like, "Hey, take Sawada out, but you like stay away from the parties." But of course, like, what do they do? Take you straight to the parties? You're just, it's like Animal House, right? There's people like everywhere, and it's crazy. I'm like, I'm coming here.
That's pretty cool. So you have a good 4-year career at Cornell, including you a captain in your senior year?
Yeah, I was captain with Topher Scott.
Oh, very cool. And then, did you guys win, by the way, anything big like in those 4 years?
You know what? We went to the finals of we were in like the final 8. So we lost in, I think, double overtime one year. And then we lost in triple overtime to Wisconsin, who ended up having, like, at the time, you don't know who these names are, but Pavelski, Skilly, there was the goalie for the Detroit Red Wings. Like, these guys were stacked. But we went to triple overtime with them, and they end up going on to, like, win the national championship.
Wow.
Right? So, like, how close you are to actually winning it. We won our league one time when I was there. So we always had good teams. Unfortunately, like my senior year, I think we lost in like our league tournament. So we didn't go on to the regionals or anything like that. But pro hockey started immediately right after. So it was, I mean, I got to win my last game, but it was more like the relegation type game in our league finals. But it was a nice way to go out and then go right into pro hockey.
Right. And then after you graduate, over the next 3 seasons, you had a couple games with the Stars each season, but you scored your first NHL career goal the very next year. Do you still remember it?
Yeah.
Was it nice?
Sorry?
Was it nice?
Was it nice? Yeah. You know what? Like, YouTube isn't what it is now. It's not like what it was back then. Like, I'm sure if it happened like 2 years ago, you'd be able to find your goal right away, right? But I scoured the internet and like, I think you can find like the whole game on some YouTube, like hour-and-a-half clip.
Yeah. But tell me about it now. Create the picture. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, I'll tell you the whole day. Like, I remember we went out the day before. We went out as a team because I was playing in Manitoba and we had like this outdoor practice. Yeah. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was there. I remember we went out, had a ton of drinks. Sorry, 2 days before. No, the day before. The day before. Because all of a sudden, like, I'm sleeping, right? And my roommate comes down. He's like, "Ray, hey, the GM or the coach is calling you." I was like, "What?" Yeah. So they call me like, "Hey, you need to be on a plane. Like, you're going to be playing tomorrow." Oh, yeah. So it was like tomorrow night in Dallas. You're getting called up. I was like, "Oh, my gosh." So I get put on a flight, first time in first class. Bought my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, a ticket. Happens to be in first class because I was the only like seat left. So didn't make any money that day. But fly in, go quickly, grab some food. Can't even remember what restaurant, but just around the hotel. Yeah. And then it was just all like, I don't want to say a blur. Like, I still remember like going to the rink, you know, getting dressed, but like I was so nervous. Like, I remember making my first pass like off the half wall, and like I think I fired it like 100 kilometers an hour at my centerman because I was like, okay, just get rid of it, right? Like, it's your problem now. It was tape to tape still. But you know what? Yeah, very lucky. There was a change on the fly, hopped on the ice, and Ribeiro, who ended up being like, you know, a great guy to me, and with my time there, he ended up pulling up in the offensive zone, and I came in pretty hot and passed me the puck and just threw it on net with my backhand, and went through the goalie's legs. And I'm not sure if you can find the picture of me after scoring, but yeah, it was just ecstatic. And you know, scoring that goal, it's like all that, there was like a relief, right? You're like, oh, okay, like you've done it almost. Right. And then I got back into hitting and things like that. But it wasn't until like the second period, I was like sitting there. I'm sitting next to like Mike Modano. Like, looking at your jersey, I'm like, I look at the other team, I'm like, I'm playing like the Edmonton Oilers. Like, this is crazy.
That's
it was such a
wow.
great day, and it was on my birthday too. So couldn't have asked for anything better that day. It was awesome.
So it was on your birthday. It was your first period of your first game as a pro.
Yeah.
Wow. Who's the goalie that you scored on? Do you remember?
Was it Rollison? Sorry, my wife is in my ear over here.
No, that's good. No, you can bring Nicole on if you want. That's fine too.
Yeah. I think it was Dwayne Rollison.
Yeah. And did someone fish out the puck out of the net for you?
Yeah, I have the puck, and you know what? All the pucks that I have from like, all the way down to like junior B, you have like your first goal, right? And then junior A, and then college, and then whatever, first pro goal and first whatever. And so I have all these pucks at home. I'll just leave them at my parents' house. They're literally on the windowsill. And then in the middle of those is the NHL goal puck, right? And then my kids, because they don't know, they're stacking these pucks, they're firing them around the house. And I'm like, oh, hey, like, take care of that one. So now my mom, I think she's taken it and like hidden it somewhere so that the kids don't destroy the puck that I scored in the NHL.
I'm laughing so hard my eyes are watering. Give me a sec. This is so that is so good. Yeah. Wow. Who are your line mates on that first game?
I was playing with Chris Barch.
Yeah.
And I believe Brian Southerby.
Okay. Ribeiro's line was still out there, I guess, and then you jumped on earlier. He was out there later, whatever, but he was the one who gave you the assist.
Yeah. I think Trevor Daley brought the puck up.
Yeah.
I can remember this because it only happened once, right? But I think Trevor Daley brought the puck up past the ribs, and then he found me. So
wow, that's funny. And I remember Ribeiro was a really good goal scorer. I'm surprised he even passed it to you. Was he a good passer too?
Well, I think he was I think he was a better passer
than a scorer. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, the bottom six forwards of an NHL team, they're good. You're good, right?
Yeah.
But those top six, like, that's next level. Like, you're like, wow, that's some special talent, right?
Yeah.
Just like God given, like, it's like the puck is just like a magnet on their stick. It's like they can do whatever they want. I'm like, I think even if I practice every day, like, I still couldn't do what those guys do, or especially like a guy like Mike Modano.
Yeah.
Just watching his hands in practice, just literally, it's going 100 miles an hour, like tick, 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 boom, and it's gone. And you're just like, wow. Like, I think then we get like, I don't know, carpal tunnel or like an arm muscle trying to go that fast. So.
That is great perspective. Last question about just the Dallas Stars, and then I want to move on to was it Modano? Was it someone else did any guy take you under their wing, I should say, when you first got there? Did they just kind of let you do your thing as the rookie?
Yeah, like when you're a call up, right? It's like you're not really part of the team, like yet. Right. You're still just like the call up, right? Staying in the hotels and stuff.
Yeah.
But Ribeiro was like really nice to me. He actually took out me and my wife, and we went out for dinner together, and so he was always like some guy that I felt like I could just have a normal conversation with, right? And you know what, actually across the board, for the most part, guys were really good. You could just tell that some people obviously not a chip on their shoulder, but they have that attitude of, I don't know, not that they're the man, but I think that's part of the reason why some guys make it. And maybe part of the reason why I didn't stick was because I didn't have that, like, not me first attitude, but that edge, right? They're always on like that edge where you're like, ooh, I don't know if I should like talk to that person, or they'll say something to you and you're like, oh, okay. I'm just not going to talk anymore,
Yeah.
But honestly, for the most part, like, that organization, they're really good. I mean, I could start going in a big not downward spiral, but just about how, like, I feel like I let myself down, and like maybe them to some extent, like being drafted like 52nd overall. Like, I know like I had more to give, whether it was injuries or like lack of opportunity, like when I was there.
Sure.
There's a lot of combination of things, but I'm like, man, like, now I'm like kicking myself. It's like, Ray, like, you had this unbelievable opportunity. Would I have been able to play 500, 600, 1,000 games? Like, I don't know. Probably not. But could I have played like 100, 200, maybe 300? Like, I think for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, now I tell people, to be like, hey, like, when you're going for something, like play like you hear like play like there's no tomorrow, like literally, because like in my mind it's like, okay, you know, all right, today didn't go that well, just okay, just don't worry about it, you'll have tomorrow. But like, you know what, that hit happens and then tomorrow's never there. Or even if that hit didn't happen, like even before, like every time just go out there and be like, hey, that's my puck, or hey, that's my teammate, you touch him again and literally you're going to pay for it, right? But playing with that edge, and anyway, that's a whole, I can keep going in circles, but
for sure. No, that'll be part
all the time.
Yeah, that'll be part 2 of the vlog. We'll record that later next month. Yeah, no, but great segue, Ray. And but what you said about just playing like there's no tomorrow and not taking anything for granted, that just shows how tough it is, right? Whether it's an injury, whether it's a personality conflict, whether it's just not being up for that game, then not getting another chance. That just shows, I guess the fine razor thin margin that you guys are playing on, right? And there's always a guy trying to take your spot, I presume, and just like you were trying to take someone else's spot. I assume it's pretty tough.
Yeah, no, exactly what you said. Like, you're trying to take somebody's spot. They're fighting for their life, really. And then there's somebody else. Guess what? They do a draft every single year, and somebody else is coming out of juniors or college, or coming over from Europe, and they're going to try and take your spot. So well,
you mentioned you mentioned the hit, and I'm very grateful. I asked you prior to us turning the camera on if I could ask you about it, and you graciously said yes. So you played 5 games in your first year, 5 games your second year, and then you had 1 game in your third year with the Stars, and playing against, it was Boston, right? And that was Derek Paille, the smaller forward, caught you with a hit to, was it his elbow or his shoulder to your head, Ray?
Yeah, like shoulder, upper arm into my face, but I mean there was no contact like on my body, right? Like I had the flat nose to like prove it. Yeah, you know, that was an ugly game from the start. Like you look back, I think there was like 3 fights in the first like 2 minutes. I was on the ice for those. Like I guess I come in again as a call-up. You don't realize exactly what's going on with the 2 team dynamics, but there's obviously some major beef between the 2. So all of a sudden it was just dirty from the start. But that shift, I remember like we were cycling in the offensive zone, and it was Scott Thorne, like one of their super tough guys. He had broken like in a fight, like one of our guys' orbital bones. But anyway, we're cycling. We have the puck, offensive zone. And they're cycling the puck down the boards, like behind the net. And I remember like I lifted his stick so he couldn't get it. His stick goes like flying in the air, right? And then like I took the puck and I think I just continued the cycle. I remember him like grabbing me like, you want to go? And I kind of like shoved him and be like, hey man, I'm trying to score a goal here, but like, no, because you're going to probably kill me. But anyway, in retrospect, later on that shift, I got my head taken off anyway, so I should have just fought him. But and then sure enough, go back in our zone, pick up the puck. It's bobbling in the neutral zone, and then boom, Dan Paille catches me in the head, and obviously gives me like a concussion. I'm like out, hit the ground, so broken nose, shoulder injury from the impact, right? Because I couldn't protect myself. If you look at the video, like I'm surprised I didn't fall flat on my back. Like I don't even really like remember. Sure. It was just all happening. Like I think at one point I actually tried to like pass the puck with my hand to, I think I was playing with like Jamie Langenbrunner. Tried to pass, like obviously it wouldn't count, but like you were just in La La Land, right?
And thank you for the correction. Yeah, Dan Paille, not Derek Paille. I was thinking Derek Pouliot. Wow. I've seen it. You know, I saw it. I remember it when it happened, because obviously following your family, your career, when knowing that Gail obviously knew your mom, and then following you, and then I watched it a couple times recently just to prepare for this. Boston Bruins goofy announcer aside, you see the guys, you know, scrumming and coming to your aid. I'm curious, Ray, did you come back in that game, or were you done for that game after that hit?
Oh no, I was done. Like I went into the locker room being checked out by like the team doctors and stuff, and like I was really messed up. Like they're looking at me like, how's your face? How's your, I'm like, man, check my shoulder. Like my shoulder is just completely like, it's mangled, like, right? Like it's in so much pain. Yeah. And then I guess my face was like numb. So like I had no idea that like it was just, my nose was like flat on my face. I had blood like everywhere. but I could just feel, I don't know why, but I could just feel my shoulder was just all messed up.
Yeah.
Obviously I think I took the impact in my face, right? So you could feel like pain, but I was like, oh, my shoulder, like, well, can you tape it up and go? I was like, no, I can't even like lift my arm, right? And then I remember the doctor going, he's just still checking out my face, right? He's like, okay. I'm like, because I was like, my face is fine, just check my shoulder out. He's touching my face. He's like, oh, maybe your nose is just like that. I was like, yeah, okay. And he's like, okay, yeah, you can't go, but yeah, get cleaned up, like you're just covered in blood. So I go to the bathroom, and I got a towel and I'm cleaning off my face, and I just look, I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, and I'm just like, my nose is just like that. Are you kidding me? Like, it's like flat on my face. I'm like, how ugly does this guy think I am, right? So, oh man, it was a mess. It was, that day was just a mess.
I'm so grateful that you can look back at it now and at least have a small chuckle about it. Did Pi ever reach out to you?
He did. I think it was like a day or two later. I think one of the media guys that asked if it was okay. I said, yeah. And he says all the right stuff, right? Like, hey, I didn't mean to hit you in the head. Like, I don't think you intentionally go like headhunting, right?
Yeah.
It sucks. And I just remember he said this to me, and he said, oh, I really hope like you get another chance. And I remember thinking at the time, like, well, of course I'm gonna get another chance, but I'm like, yeah, no, I hope so too. And it's just really brutal that ends up being like the last time like I'm in the NHL. I'm like, oh man, like what a missed opportunity, like that line or that day or that game.
Yeah.
I remember playing, I can't remember who my other line mate was. It might have been, well, I know I was playing with Langdon. I was playing third line. Anyway, when you're playing fourth line, like you're literally limited to like 5 minutes a game, right? Like good luck doing something, right? But even then, like, yeah, I look back, we were talking about playing with the edge, like do something in that 5 minutes, right? Like go out there and do something. But playing third line, man, you're playing 9, 10, 11, 12 minutes. Like you can really actually have like a significant impact. So
yeah,
to be like, oh man, if I was able to play that game and play another game and like, you just gain momentum, maybe I score another goal, you get in a fight or whatever, you start hammering people, you getting into it. Yeah. So it's really tough. Like thinking back now, I'm driving to work, right? Going to be a firefighter, great job. But I'm like, man, I had the dream job of playing like professional hockey, and not only just pro hockey, like you're playing in the NHL, right? So yeah, for me, it's a tough pill to swallow because you just, especially where we live, I'm like, hey, like you think, okay, you play like 8-9 years of pro hockey, come back and you're going to have the huge house or whatever. You come back to Vancouver, like, oh, hey, you want to buy this house? Yeah, it's $4 million. Like, what? Anyway, so yeah, it's constantly in my mind. My wife probably says I need to go talk to somebody about it, but yeah.
I'm Ray, seriously, man, I'm so grateful for your honesty and answering it so truthfully. And I'm glad that Pi did reach out, because that was I didn't tell you this, but my offer was to go track him down and beat him up, because that's kind of what I would do for you. So
oh, thanks. Yeah.
Wow. So if I may, was it because of the concussion and or the shoulder that you did not get a chance again to play with the Stars, with the pro team?
Yeah, I was out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
It was tough because I was getting pushed to come back. This is at a time where like the concussion protocol wasn't necessarily there. It wasn't necessarily like handled like the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't that awareness that there is now, for sure.
Yeah, like I remember saying like I'm having headaches, like just in my hotel room, right? Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, you're fine. And you're like, okay, like again, some other things of like not only playing with edge, but hey, Ray, stand up for yourself, right? Like there's other instances in my career, not just that year, but other years where like I had hurt my other shoulder, and you're like, no, I'm good to go. Where you're like, hey, maybe I just take a game off. Instead, the next game, you get hurt, or you hit that shoulder again, and all of a sudden you're out for 3 months. Yes. Right? So like standing up for yourself, but I don't know. I was always a person, and I feel I'm like just put your nose to the grindstone and like get after, right? Just play through pain. And I mean, I think it's probably part of the reason why I got there, right? From just like playing through times where you body probably doesn't want to be playing, right? But yeah, wow. That's a sensitive subject because I don't think I got probably the right treatment, not necessarily medically, but like treated how I should have, like from like the concussions. Like I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't be in a light with like rooms in my hotel room. And irregardless if it was happening like later in the day and not just like in the morning when I was at the rink, like rehabbing.
Yeah.
Still a concussion, right? But it was pushed off. And plus like my shoulder, like even when I eventually signed the waivers, say I can play. And again, this situation is pretty messed up. It didn't end well. That was really sour for me. That put like a real sour taste in my mouth leaving the NHL. Yeah, it was just mistreated at the very end, tricked really into coming off IR, believing that I had an opportunity to play. They asked me if I wanted to know if I was available for the lineup tomorrow night, right? And they came to me like the week before. I was like, listen, my shoulder still hurts. Like, I don't know if well, you should be okay because it's been like, it had only been like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. I was like, I don't know, like this still hurts. So I actually remember I had the pen in my hand and I'm like, no, I can't. I can't but then they came like, again, like a couple days later, asked me again, hey, wants to know, are you going to be available? And like what I said about, hey, like, just put your head down, whatever. If you have another shot, like go for it. Right. So I think this is my shot and sign the papers. And then within minutes of me signing that, boom. Hey, Ray, you got to grab your stuff. You're going back to the AHL. Last time in the NHL. So not only was the hit brutal, that last part, like, man, that left like such a sour taste in my mouth. I was so pissed off. Even bringing it up now, like it just really makes me angry, right? Be like, what are you trying to do? Like, I'm on minimum salary. Are you trying to get me out of here to save like a couple grand?
Yeah.
So that it really pissed me off because I don't know. I don't know why they looked at like as if I was trying to nurse it. Like anybody who knows me knows that I don't like sit on the sideline. I play through like a lot of pain. I throw my body around. Yeah. Sorry, my wife was saying the 1 year I was playing and I said I had leg pain. They took x-rays all over the place. And they couldn't find the Ray, you're fine. I was like, okay, I'll keep on going. But I'm literally like hobbling around the ice. I was like, guys, my leg is killing me. So eventually they go take an x-ray, but they take it vertically from above, like my tib and fib. And I was like, oh, hey, yeah, you got a nice fracture on like the top of one of those bones. They're like, yeah, you've been playing on a broken leg for the past like week and a bit. I'm like, oh my God, guys, right? But anyway,
wow.
Yeah, it was really tough. The way it ended, it really unfortunate because I think it's kind of left that sour taste in my mouth about just hockey, like in general, right? The business side, anyway. Yeah. So,
this is riveting, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. After the Dallas Stars, and you could do 5 more years of hockey, basically half in North America, then half in overseas in Europe, and then in Japan. Just quickly tell us about that experience, both maybe in the European and the Japanese league.
The Japanese league was awesome. Those guys, like, you know what? I appreciate hard work. That's how I got to like where I got to pro hockey. Yeah. And those guys work hard, right? But they don't get to watch like NHL hockey, or they're not like immersed in it, right? They're learning, like they watch Patrick Kane videos and be like, oh, hey, like I need to do a 360 backward, like backhand sauce pass and then go top shelf to score. I was like, guys, like they were so skilled. Like they were more skilled than I was. But in terms of like figuring out the game of like, hey, you can just be here. I'll be over here. I'll pass it to you. I'll go here. You pass it back point blank instead of you thinking you have to go like all like this to get here to like score, right? But I love my time there. I mean, the people were awesome. Part Japanese, so I was learning, like starting to learn the language. Love the food. I would go back to Japan in a heartbeat. Wouldn't tell anybody. Just go straight to Tokyo, eat there for a week. Worthwhile trip.
Absolutely.
So it was great. Like I wish it was unfortunate. We were having like our second child, and for Nicole, it was very isolating, right, with the language barrier. And,
sure.
At the time, like the other import didn't bring his family, so it was probably very lonely for her. So fortunately we had our second daughter, but unfortunately it kind of brought my career to an end. But I would have loved to have played a few more years, because I think I was on my way to getting like my passport, right?
Yes.
Japan, and being able to play with them on the national stage. The Group B or whatever division they're in. But I think, there's no way I'm making Team Canada, right? So playing on Team Japan would be like the next best thing.
I'm just curious, when you're explaining those plays to your teammates, Ray, were you talking in broken Japanese? Were they listening in broken English, or was it a combination of a lot of sign language?
You know what? Their English for the most part is decent. Like
Yeah.
compared to my Japanese, like, but we had a translator, so he would sit there. He'd sit in between me and the other import, who was a French Canadian. I don't even understand what the French Canadian guy is saying, right? So good luck with these Japanese guys. They're looking at me like, Ray, translate for us. I was like, I don't even know what the guy's saying, right? um, yeah, we had a translator plus one of our coaches, Aaron Keller, great guy. He was a Japanese Canadian, went over to play in Japan, married a Japanese lady, had a family. So he was there. So he was always able to help translate for us. But yeah, you know, we had a great coach there too.
Yeah.
Everybody was super nice, great treatment. I think one of the Japanese players, I remember him telling me that other players who had gone there before, like a long time ago, they're like, oh, why don't you get more of your friends to come? They're like, no, secret league, because they were getting paid like really good money, right?
Secret league.
He's like, no, secret league, right? Because like nobody would think to go to Japan to play hockey, but let alone, and then plus these corporations that own these teams, I don't know if they knew how much they should be paying players to come over. So all of a sudden they're forking over like a lot of money, right? For these guys who weren't necessarily maybe like even good like AHL players. They were just happened to be like playing pro of some kind, and they're getting loads of money. So they're like, I'm not telling anybody about this, right? Like they're gonna come take my job. But
wow.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I love Japan. Too bad that didn't work out. They weren't there for longer, but
right.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was a good way to end off your pro hockey career for sure.
You know, that was like a big positive.
Yeah.
We were in Belfast the year before, which the hockey was a real struggle there. Like,
yeah,
I didn't want to be there for the hockey, but living, I mean, it was awesome.
Yep.
Finland, my first daughter was there. So like a lot of positive memories. Just,
yeah.
I think the coach, like this guy, I think he thought because I'd played a few games in NHL, I was going to be like Sidney Crosby, right? Like, but he plays me like no power play, first line penalty kill all the penalties all year. But by the end, he was like, Ray, you no offense. I was like, man, you're playing me like third, fourth line, and you told me to hit, and you like no power play. I'm like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Like, do you expect me to put up all these points, right? So that was a frustrating year too, right? You go, so probably wasn't the best fit.
Right.
Looking back, probably should have gone to maybe like a Germany or maybe even like a Sweden where like it's a little bit more like physical, not less like real like skill. Not to say that there's high end skill in those other leagues.
Sure.
I remember the coach being like, Ray, don't dump puck in. I'm like, what? Yeah, I'm like, that's what I do. I don't know if you've seen the video, but I dump the puck in and I go hammer the guy, right? But then, it's crazy. Like, it's nuts. Like I remember going in there and just crushing they wear, whoever's the top scorer on each team wears a gold helmet.
Yes.
So it's just like a big target. I'm like, well, I'm going to crush this guy. So the puck goes in, he's on the wall, and over there, they're all about like zone defense, right? They just start, they literally, I'm doing this because this is what they showed me. Everybody all come back.
Yes.
Come back. I was like, come back. I'm like, no, I want to go, right? So I remember screaming in there and boom, light this guy up. And he like slashed me in the back of legs, and he's super pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, I got that guy off his game like a little bit, right? And I go back to the bench, and the coach is like, Ray, no hit. You come back. You come back, right? Yeah. I think he was like a decent coach. It was just I was not his type of player, unfortunately, which led to some problems like down the road. But,
wow. What? Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm sure we can sit here all night. You can tell me stories, and I'd be giggling through every single one. Wow, that's pretty fun. I'm going to start doing that for my kids. Hey, when they're busy, come back. Come back together. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Two quick questions about the state of the game today, and then we'll wrap up with my rapid fire. Do you follow the Canucks at all right now?
I follow them. It's not like, I mean, I kind of know what's going on, but not really like too detailed.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any thoughts of do you have any thoughts on how well you think they might do this year? It can't be any worse than last year. That's for sure. It was just both on and off the ice. It was just a dog's breakfast of a year.
Yeah. It's it's unfortunate, like, because I felt like they were like hitting strides, right? You're like, oh, this is going to be like a really good team. Of course, I grew up like a Canucks fan. You just want them, for me anyway, like naturally to do well.
Yeah. Yep.
But obviously some problems with some players that are supposed to be like big impact players. And
yeah,
I mean, if you have a player or two that are having that sort of negative impact, I mean, that affects like everybody, right?
Sure.
Especially when they could be very negative outside of the rink. And not only that, but they're not carrying their weight at the rink. So it just, I mean, compounds and and then some players that are probably just not playing like the way they want. And then there's some injuries.
Just never got into a flow. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. It's really tough. I think for like probably everybody involved. And I don't want to speculate because I mean, I'm not in that position to like make those decisions. I'm sure they're very difficult, whether it's wanting to spend the money or not spend the money, or if you're able to get a player, or if the player even wants to be there, right? Or to come to Vancouver. But yeah, I mean, I had a bunch of friends because I was playing on the Manitoba Moose. And when they went to the finals, it happened to be that year that I got hurt in Boston. I was like, these guys they have to beat Boston. I'm like, there's no way, right? And then we're up, like, were they up 3 games to? Yeah,
they were up 2-0 and then up 3-2. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like, oh, we got this. And then like I knew like there was Baumgartner, Bolduc, like Schneider was up there. I was like, oh man, not only are they going to win, and like I was downtown for like some of the parties. Yeah. I'm going to get to go to a cup party, right? This is going to be unbelievable. Well, maybe, I don't know if I would get the invite or not. But like it'd be awesome to get that sort of atmosphere. Maybe not too as excited as everybody got like after the fact, but sure. It'd be nice because they do have some really, really talented players, and it'd be a shame if it went to waste in these next few years.
Well said. And last big question before our rapid fire at the end. Given that you played in the NHL, given that you played in the AHL, tell me something as a former player, aside from the obvious, the branding and the distance, what's one advantage that the Vancouver Canucks organization has now with Abbotsford, their farm team, being literally an hour, 75 minutes away? Is it, aside from the location, aside from, the branding and the pride of being a Canuck, is there something, and a nuance that would be interesting to know, just logistically or whatever? Like, what's one advantage that the Canucks have having their farm team so close?
Well, one advantage, I mean, they can literally call somebody up and they're there like in an hour, right?
Yeah.
I know there's some teams that like the NHL team and farm team practice in like the same arena. So you get called up, you literally just walk down the hall. Huh. So like, I mean, like, I know that you didn't say necessarily logistic wise, but that and like travel, like I remember I traveled from Winnipeg, like I went Winnipeg, Minnesota, like Dallas. And then you have to even drive from Dallas, like Fort Worth airport.
Yeah.
So like Plano, get like, have food, and then you're driving down. It's like not a mess, but it is a trek, right? And you can't necessarily be there right away.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be really good. And I'm sure like they're going to have the guys like are not necessarily with like the NHL team, but like around. So I think you probably get to know probably quicker, like how to be a pro.
Right.
And I think even for like myself, I think about like, man, I really didn't figure it out again until it was like a little bit too late when I was like at 26, 27, right? I'm like, okay, now I know how to do it. And I'm like playing good. It's just like, oh, you're just like a little bit too late, just a little bit too old. You don't get the opportunity, or maybe you take the wrong opportunity. So I think for the players, it'll be really good to be that close, right?
Yes.
And learn from like the guys who are in the NHL, right?
Awesome. And not only the players, the coaches too, I guess too. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Right. They'll always be watching and getting like quick feedback, and
awesome.
Yeah. I think it'll be a positive for everybody. And you know what? I don't know who's on that farm team now. I'm a little far removed.
Yeah.
But for fans, I mean, I don't know how much tickets are going to go for, but you get to see these Canucks that literally could be there next year or that year, right?
Yep.
So hopefully that will bring some excitement.
Well said. Well said. All right, we're going to end this off with what I call my 5-hole for obvious reasons. There's a Canucks a Canucks channel, a hockey channel. So these ones, you can just you can go as briefly or as long as you want, but these are supposed to meant to be a bit quicker. The first one, I'm supposed to ask you, what's the best sport that what sport you're best at? But obviously we know that's hockey. What's the second best sport that you are at?
You know what? I love playing basketball.
Part
of the reason why, like, I got to play on like the police fire basketball team.
Yeah.
In the Lower Mainland here. And part of the reason I like that, because now I go out for hockey, and for the most part, it's like beer league. I'm not playing too often anymore, but you go out there and it's more going through the motions, right? Like, are you going to be that guy who played pro hockey and just start skating around everybody? Like, no. But basketball, like I played high school basketball, and I played like on the varsity team. So I'm okay. But like I play basketball like the same way I do hockey, right? Like getting in there, rebounds, like trying to do my layups don't always work. But like, giving the ball to like the shooters, right? So for me, that's like a sport that I love. And plus I can go out there, I can sprint as hard as I want. I can work as hard as I want, and nobody cares. They're like, oh, well, this guy, that's what he does, because he obviously doesn't have the skill to be like a good basketball player.
Great answer. Oh, that's pretty cool. Number 2, Ray, if you were starting a team from scratch, are you taking Elias Pettersson or Quinn Hughes?
Ooh, you know what? Oh man, that's a tough one. Oh man, you know what? Being a forward, I would have to say Pettersson. I don't know. I just watch him take those one-timers on the power play, and I'm like, how does this little stick of a kid fire that puck like a rocket?
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. So I think just from a forward standpoint, I would say Pettersson for sure.
Sure. The people watching will see that I'm in the dark now as all my ring light shut off, but that's fine. Okay, so Pettersson, I thought you picked the forward for sure. Well, that's fine. This one's going to be a no-brainer, as I'm going to turn on a light. Give me a sec.
Sure.
Yeah, this one's probably going to be a no-brainer given what we talked about and established from the start. Japanese food or Chinese food?
Oh, Japanese food for sure.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go there. That's good. Number 4, speaking of food, who would you, if you got to spend 2 hours with this person, they're paying for dinner, would you rather go with Francesco Aquilini, Jim Benning, or Travis Green? Who would you have the most fun with for 2 hours?
You know what? I would probably say like Travis Green, just being like a former player. Yeah, I think it would be interesting and fun to hear what he has to say. Like you say, hey, Ray, you have some stories. Like I remember playing on teams with like Mike Keane, and this guy was like not only like a hard-nosed, like great leader, captain. This guy he was like a Rolodex of like stories, right? And you're crying, like how you're crying before, like I'm crying like all day, the dressing room, road trips. So I think a guy who's been around the league and like the amount of stories, like, I don't know, you listen to Spin Chicklets or like Missing Curfew and listen to those guys, and I'm constantly laughing. Like it's just outrageous the things that happen to people in like the hockey world, right? You're like, how does this happen? But so I think Travis Green probably.
I like it.
Yeah.
And lastly, Ray, what's one thing, and you could take a couple seconds to think about your answer to this one. What's one thing that people don't know about Raymond Sawada that you don't mind people knowing? What's one thing people don't know about you?
Oh man, one thing that people don't know about me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have a twin brother. Fraternal twin brother. Steve.
What's his name?
Steve. Well, Steven, if my mom's listening, it's Steven.
I think Gail will send her the link. And he played as well, correct?
Yeah, we got to play Junior B together, which is awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Ray, this is
actually combine our skill set, because he always had like the good hands. He had like that natural ability, the smooth skating.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm out there just flying around, like crashing into people. So it's too bad we couldn't just make one Sawada. Probably still be in like the NHL.
You'd be like leading scorer every year over year.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but.
Oh, Ray, this truly, this has been amazing. I'm so grateful for your honesty, your humility, your transparency. I know when I was talking to your lovely wife, Nicole, a couple of weeks ago, I said, do you think Ray would be up for this? And she goes, yeah, just shoot him a message and ask him. So everything from your stories about getting to the NHL, in the NHL and then what's happened since then. I know that I'm positive that the viewers on my channel will really appreciate it. So thank you for doing this, and very grateful for your time and grateful for your family, grateful for your health, I guess is really important, as we've talked about. So we really appreciate it, and I hope to do this again with you really soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.
No problem.